It's Saturday, and it's time for Swede Live. I'm a Swede Speaks, we're live on YouTube, and I'm happy that you're here. Welcome, and God bless everyone who's watching. I'm always happy to connect with you here in this live stream. This live stream will be on for 70 minutes. We're just getting started with this week's live stream. So before we begin, let's pray. Dear Lord, bless this live stream. Bless everyone who's watching this live stream now and later. Lord, let the fire of revival burn all over the world, in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, in Australia, and in the Americas. Give the countries of the world good leaders, statesmen and stateswomen who follow your will. We pray this in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. And remember that we take prayer requests in this live stream, and we're happy to pray. So just keep that in mind. And let me say just a few words about what I'm trying to do, for whom, and what I'm for. I do this for you. Without you, I couldn't do this. So to everyone watching and participating, thank you. The chat is for you to connect and discuss. I'm in favor of Judeo-Christian Western civilization, rooted in the heritage from Jerusalem, Athens, and Rome, and refined through the Anglo-American tradition of liberty, biblical faith, Greek philosophy, Roman law, and Anglo-American ideas on liberty. That's what I'm for. Without these ingredients, the West dies, and you're not going to like what comes after the West. So it is very important to preserve Western civilization and to defend it against its enemies. If it happens to be socialism, political correctness, or Islam, it doesn't really matter. They're all harmful ideas that need to be stopped. And they can only be stopped by us standing up for Judeo-Christian Western civilization. So let's do just that. Remember, we don't need a majority to win. Neither does the people undermining the West. All that is needed is critical mass, the stubborn 10%. So here, I'm trying to connect with the 10 stubborn percent who are in favor of Western civilization. This is not about genetics or geography. This is about faith, values, culture, and ideas. Politics is downstream to culture. Culture, however, is downstream to religion. And that's why Western civilization can only exist in a Christian context. Remove Christianity, as many liberals and socialists have tried, and the West dies. So if you want to support my work, feel free to do so. You can send a super chat of whatever amount you like. Just click the little dollar sign under your name. And I will read out all super chats, as long as you follow the general rules of this live stream. No racism, no anti-Semitism, and no incitement. Please. Be nice, don't incite. And for the record, anti-Islam is not racism, but don't incite against anyone, including Muslims, SJWs, Marxists, or whichever group you can think of. So let's have a look at what's going on in the chat now. And we have 7 people in here. That's great. Thank you all for coming here. And Sheldon Hofstadter says, good late evening. So good late evening to you too, sir. And thank you for coming. Good to see you here. And thank you all for being here. Thank you for participating. Thank you for supporting this channel. And remember, like, subscribe, share, comment, and super chat. That's all very good. And tell your friends and family about this channel. So, on February 6th, 2019, Pope Francis delivered a message in the Paul VI Hall on the occasion of his weekly general audience at the Vatican. During the delivery, the Pope said that his pilgrimage to the United Arab Emirates during this week wrote, quote, a new chapter in the history of the dialogue between Christianity and Islam, close quote, and in promoting world peace based on brotherhood. A few days earlier, Pope Francis signed a document with Sheikh Ahmed Al-Tayeb, Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, which is the ancient seat of learning in Sunni Islam. In the document, they condemned religiously motivated and other sorts of violence. Pope Francis said that the two leaders wanted to give a clear and decisive sign that respect and dialogue is possible between the Christian and the Islamic worlds. Did the Pope miss the memo about Islam's bloody history, Islam's bloody borders, and Islam's bloody present? Doesn't he know that Islam is only tolerant when Muslims are a small minority? When Islam is the dominant force in society? Well, he can ask the Christians in Pakistan, in Egypt, in Nigeria, in Sudan, in Turkey, or in Indonesia about what happens then. Is the Pope ignorant enough not to know that Islam is a totalitarian political ideology dressed up as religion? Doesn't he know about Islamic lies, how Muslims are allowed, according to their own teachings, to lie to protect Islam? That Sunni Sheikh can condemn violence all he wants. Will he really work to stop it? How are the Christian Copts in Egypt treated by Muslims? The Pope should worry more about that than to talk about dialogue with Islam. Dialogue with Islam is as useful as dialogue with communism or National Socialism. You know what? Pope Francis, he should learn from Pope John Paul II. Together with US President Ronald Reagan and UK Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, John Paul II helped bring down communism and the Soviet Empire in what used to be called Eastern Europe, in the Visegrad countries. On June 5th, 1979, Pope John Paul II visited his native country of Poland, and to the Poles he said, quote, "You are not who they say you are, so let me remind you who you are," close quote. By day, the Pope obviously referred to the communist regime in Poland. In response to the Pope, the Poles chanted, "We want God, we want God, we want God in the family, we want God in the schools, we want God in books." And you know what happened? After years of struggle, the Berlin Wall came down. Communist regimes fell in Poland, in Romania, in Hungary, in Bulgaria. And you know the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania regained their independence. The Soviet Union fell. I'm not a Roman Catholic, but I admire Pope John Paul II for fighting the evil teachings of communism. Pope Francis should also fight evil teachings. And by the way, shouldn't the Pope address how communism have ruined Venezuela? So, Valkyria Medic says, Pope Francis gives me the creeps. I agree. I agree completely. And Sheldon Hofstadter says, I was happy when Francis was elected, but changed my mind soon. He panders to Islam, but what about reciprocity? Exactly, I agree. And we now have 10 people watching. That's great. Thank you all for being here. And, you know, in the United States of America, President Donald Trump held his State of the Union address on February 5th. And I listened to the address and I liked it a lot. According to a CBS News poll, so did most of the people who listened, 76% approved of Trump's address and 24% disapproved. Trump said a lot of great things. Among the things that he said was that all children, born and unborn, are made in the image of God. President Trump called for the banning of late-term abortions. Another great thing that Mr. Trump said was that America will never be a socialist country. Did you hear the people booing when Trump said that? How ignorant do you need to be to boo at that statement? Hey, if you want socialism, move to Venezuela. Seriously, I mean it. President Trump also pointed out great facts like the record low unemployment in the United States and that the United States is now a net exporter of energy. As Trump said in the address, the State of the Union is strong. Thank God for President Trump. And we now have 11 people watching. Valkyria Medic says, best State of the Union address in a long time. I agree completely. So that's great. And, well, thank you for being here. And make sure to hit the like button. Share this live stream on social media. Send it to your friends. Feel free to send me a super chat. And tell your friends and family about this channel. So now I want to talk a little about Sweden. In Sweden, Jan Björklund, leader of the Liberal Party, has declared that he will resign from his position. He has led the Liberal Party since September 7th, 2007. And lately he helped Social Democrat Stefan Löfven to get re-elected by the Swedish parliament as Prime Minister of Sweden. According to polls, the Liberal Party in Sweden are down to 2.7%. And to gain seats in parliament, a party needs 4%. I say good riddance to Mr. Björklund, and I sincerely hope that the Liberal Party will fall out of parliament in the next Swedish general election. I hope that election comes sooner rather than later. And back to America. In America, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat representative for the state of New York, debuted with her Green New Deal bill on Thursday, February 7th. Ocasio-Cortez has previously argued for a 70% income tax for the wealthy. In an NPR interview, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez argued for a combination of taxes and deficit spending. Has she heard about inflation? You know, strangely enough, Ocasio-Cortez is an economics major. Don't you need to understand economics to major in the subject? Well, apparently not. Ms. Ocasio-Cortez also majored in international relations, and she has said also that being Latino is like being Native American. arguing that Latin Americans are descended from Native Americans and thus should be allowed to immigrate to the United States. I don't see why open borders for Latinos should follow by Latinos being part Native Americans. As far as I know, Native Americans didn't have open borders, and neither should the United States. I don't understand why people voted for her, except for the simple fact that, well, you know what, fools are also allowed to vote. In any case, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez will give me a lot of materials in the years to come. Well, that's for sure. And we're 13 people are watching here now. That's wonderful. Thank you all for being here. And let's see, our moderator, Alicia Bell, just got into the chat and she says, oh, finally got this to work. We're happy to see you here, Alicia Bell. And Fernando Matsuo says, are most of the Swedes Catholics nowadays? What is the second religion in Sweden? As Alicia Bell says, atheism is the biggest religion in Sweden. I would say that. Swedes used to be Lutheran, and I would say that Catholics were the second largest denomination in Sweden, or has been for a long time. And Valkyria Medic says, AOC is like the Pope. She gives me the creeps. And again, our moderator, Alicia Bell, points out creepy people are on the rise. And yeah, I agree. They are, sadly, but yeah, that's the way it is. So the European Union has moved even closer towards a link tax. A Franco-German deal in the European Union has proposed the following. Internet platforms will be forced to censor their users' posts using upload filters. Upload filters must be installed by all internet platforms except those who fit all of the following three criteria. Criteria number 1, available to the public for less than 3 years. Criteria number 2, annual turnover below 10 million euros. And criteria number 3, fewer than 5 million unique monthly visitors. So this will immediately strike at YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Patreon, WordPress, and so on. Does anyone still believe that the EU is about liberty? Because it sure doesn't look like it. So I will also like to mention that that I have set up a Subscribe Star page now, but I'm still waiting to get this page approved. They are still reviewing it. I don't know how long time that will take, but there is a Subscribe Star page coming up, and there is a link to it in the box below this live stream, by the way. But you can't sign up to support me there yet. But just letting you know, it's coming up, but I don't know if it's going to take a week or a month. I have no idea. But I've set up a Subscribe Star page, and I wanted you to know that. And let's see, Valkyria Medic sent a super chat of $2. Thank you very much. And a message saying, did you find a church in Wisconsin? Yeah, I've been going to a few different churches when I've been to Wisconsin lately, especially 2 different churches. I don't want to be too specific, but I found churches that are based on good biblical teachings. And Art Schneider says, Art Schneider says, hi Sweden all. I want to thank everybody's prayer for my fiancée Christina. She is getting better. We're really happy to hear that, Art Schneider. At least I am. So that's great. Thank you. That's great. Thank God for that. We're happy that your fiancée is getting better. And we hope that she will just keep on improving. So, Lord, please improve Christina's health. And thank you for the healing you've given her. And just keep on improving her health. And thank you, Lord, for that, because we know you're the greatest of doctors out there. So just thank you for that, Lord. And we pray that you keep on healing her. And another thing I'd like to tell you, this is the first draft of my upcoming book. I don't know how long it will take before it will be in the shape of an actual book in pocket version or whatever. I'll move it a little closer to the camera to make sure you can see. But this is the first draft, and I have a few people proofreading it as we speak. Proofreading proofreading and commenting on it. So if you didn't see it, the working title right now is Understanding Sweden, a historical, cultural, and psychological inquiry of Sweden and the Swedes. And I've been working on this book for the last 2 years, pretty much since the late spring of 2017, I think. So this is the first draft, and I'm really happy to finally have produced the first draft because, you know, writing is very interesting and it's great and it's tiresome. So I hope that a lot of people is going to buy it when we have an actual product to sell through the channel, through Amazon, for whatnot. I just let you know it's coming up, but it might take a little time before we're there. But in any case, just letting you know. And Sheldon Hofstadter says, Super Chat still not available. Some Norwegian kroner just sent via PayPal. Thank you very much for that, sir. And he also says, by the way, thank you for the prayer for my girlfriend. She feels a lot better now. We're here very happy to hear that, Sheldon. So thank you, Lord, for healing Sheldon's girlfriend too. And we pray that you just keep on healing her. Thank you, Lord. And also thank you for bringing good people like Sheldon to this live stream and all the other people coming here. We're just really happy to have you all here. Because, you know, I was ill. I had a cold, and I'm improving from it. So I'm almost good now. But I've been healing up from it lately. And in the middle of all that, I flew across the Atlantic from the US over to Europe. So I really missed, well, having you all and talk to you in the live stream. So I'm happy to see you all here now. That's great too. And John Williams, by the way, said, nice beard. Well, thank you, sir. My wife said, my wife told me she wanted me to grow a beard. So, you know, what are you going to do? If she wants you to have a beard, you grow a beard. And Valkyria Medic says, the book sounds interesting. Well, I'm happy to hear that you think so. There's still some work to be done to sort of perfect the product. But we're getting there. So that's great. And I have a few people who are, well, commenting on it and proofreading it. So I think we're going to have a good product in the end. Thomas Boyd says, religion of Great Britain, number of Muslims, what does it say? 3.3 million, is that it? Record home office real number recording 2018 to 2019. Oh, Scarflex says, it's a sin to call you a Viking. Well, it's not a sin to call me anything, pretty much. But I wouldn't call myself a Viking because, well, you know, I'm a Christian. And the Vikings got civilized through the gospel. So, but of course, I have Viking ancestry, as anyone has who's got Scandinavian roots. And I think most Europeans and whatnot are descended from Vikings. But that's sort of a digression. But, well, if you want to call me a Viking, you can call me a Viking. So with how many have we got in here now? We got 15 people in here. So with you in here, I would like to ask you a few questions so we can get the conversation going. So the first thing I'd like to know is, where are you all from? And what are the hot issues in your area or your country? So what I want to know is, where are you all from? And what are the hot issues in your country or your area? Alicia Bell says, Vikings were the gangbangers of their day. So, well, yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. The interesting thing about the Vikings was that nobody was really ever able to stop them. The only thing that finally stopped the Vikings from looting and, looting and killing and raping was the gospel. And of course, I know that Vikings were traders too. Of course, they traded, but some people went from Scandinavia to do trade. Some went to loot, and some did both. But you know, no one was able to stop them until they accepted the gospel. That's what civilized the Vikings. So Valkyria Medic says, how are the Vikings viewed by modern Scandinavians? I'd say some Scandinavians have a romantic view of the Vikings. Some people don't really care. And I guess some people have what I would think is a more factual view. The view that the Vikings were, well, they were savages or heathens. I mean, of course, some of them were nice people and all of that. I'm not saying that, but man without God. Then you get the Vikings or the Mongol hordes or whichever group you can think of before they turn to God. Let's see. Thomas Boyd says, yes, thank you for telling the truth. I am Christian. Keep up the great work. You have support, friend. God bless you from the UK. Well, God bless you too. Alicia Bell says, where am I from today? Yeah, absolutely. And she says, well, today I'm from Amsterdam. Okay. And Burley says, Canada, illegal immigration. I also used to live in Israel. Oh, okay. That's great. It's not great that you got illegal immigration in Canada, but, well, thank you for letting us know. And by the way, what is the Canadian government doing to deal with this issue, if anything? And I know there's an election coming up this year in Canada, so I think that's going to be really interesting to see what happens with that. Valkyria Medic says, here in the Midwest, we're laughing at the state of Virginia and their troubles with their state government. Yeah, isn't that just a mess? And isn't it strange? It's not strange, but isn't it, how should I put it, interesting that it's the Democrats. Really, it's the Democrats. Isn't that interesting? I don't think the Democrats have ever been able to really, deal with their history. And that's why these things just keep on coming back and haunt them. Alicia Bell says, LOL, yes, Virginia is very interesting. I believe all women, right? Well, that's what the Democrats say, isn't it? So can they complain when it comes back to haunt them? I don't think so. I think either you say that we have to check each case individually and, try them in a court of law, or we say we believe all women, period, and if that's what you say, well, then you're pretty much stuck in that position, like the Democrats are, as far as I know. Julix says, Viking is a job, adventure, merchant, marauder. Well, yeah, I guess you could say that kind of a job, but some of the part of that job wasn't very nice. And Valkyrie Medic says, it's interesting this all happened right after governor came out to support post-birth abortion, aka murder. Yeah, from what I've understood, some of his old the people he went to school with when he studied law, they just, or was his high school, people who went to high school with him, wasn't it? Anyway, people he had gone to school with who had kept quiet about this, but when he went out and supported post-birth abortion, he really did. You can listen to the video, to the interview with him yourselves. He really did. He didn't say up until birth. What he said was, yeah, she can deliver the baby, and then they can decide what to do with the baby. So he supports murder. No matter what you think about abortion, he supports murder. And then they thought he just went too far, and they dropped this. And in this case, I'm gonna have to support it. And if you're a Democrat and you said all of these crazy stuff, well, you asked for it. Burley says the conservatives in Canada will stop the illegals. I hope you're right about that. And Sheldon Hofstad says, Prague, Czechia. We don't have a lot of problematic migrants here. Thank God. Mostly Ukrainians and Vietnamese who are fine. Yeah, that's wonderful to hear, Sheldon. And I'll be able to see for myself shortly, because I'll be in Prague in a not too distant future now. So I'll be able to see what's going on there, and the people are there. And I'm working on a travel video for you, but it's going to take a while. I will probably combine from different parts of Europe, sort of a Europe travel video from different parts of Europe. So it might take a week or two before the video is produced. But we at Swede Studios, we're working on a travel video from Europe. So that will come up together with all the other material, So just keep an eye open for that. One moment. Sheldon Hofstadter says, I live next to a Korean restaurant. No problems with those either. Well, I would say this. I lived in Norway since 2006. And I've learned that in Norway, there were two immigrant groups that showed up about the same time in the 1970s. You had the Pakistanis and the Vietnamese. And to begin with, both groups had some clashes with, well, Norwegian society, and you had some problems with, with crime and whatnot. But in the last few decades, I haven't heard a word about any people, any Norwegian citizens of Vietnamese ancestry causing any trouble to Norwegian society. For all intensive purposes, the Vietnamese have assimilated. I mean, they might have their family businesses still, and they might cling to each other sort of, but they're not causing any trouble in Norwegian society. They're not trying to force some kind of Vietnamese Sharia on society, nothing like that. And there's still trouble with the Pakistanis, with honor killings and jihadists whose parents or grandparents came from Pakistan and stuff like that. So I think the explanation here is Islam. That's really what it is. And since Vietnamese aren't Muslims, well, you get my point. And Alicia Bell says, Czechs don't want America's problems. I think you're right about that. And she also says, here it seems like everyone wants just talk about soccer. Oh, I see. Well, soccer is big in Europe. I know that much. So, another thing I'd like to ask you is, did you watch Trump's State of the Union address? And if so, if yes, if you did, what did you think about it? So what I want to know is, did you watch Donald Trump's State of the Union address? And if you did, what did you think about the address? That's what I'd like to know. Alicia Bell says, clinging isn't the issue. Islam is disrupting Western civilization. Exactly. That's exactly the point I'm trying to get across. And I mean, yeah, in the context of Western civilization, Islam is disrupting it. If you look at like a worldwide, if we take a global perspective here, because I'm not a globalist, but I often take a global perspective on things, comparing what things that happen in different countries. And I have yet to learn of a single country where Islam doesn't cause problems. So it doesn't matter if you have Islam in Europe, if you have Islam in the Middle East, if you have Islam in Africa, if you have Islam in China, if you have Islam in Michigan, if you have Islam in, well, I don't think there's much of it in Brazil, but you get the point. It doesn't matter where Islam goes. Where Islam goes, troubles follow. So yeah, absolutely. And Tulik says the problem isn't immigration, but integration. Muslims cannot integrate because Islam doesn't allow it. Absolutely, that's true. And you know what happens? The only Muslims I know that have integrated or assimilated into the societies they live in are the people who left Islam. And they usually integrate just fine once they leave Islam, because then they want to be a part of the society that they live in. So Akt Patera says, State of the Union was great. Sadly, the mainstream media didn't report it all here. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Akt Patera. And let's see. Alicia Bell says, I need to watch the State of the Union address. Yeah, absolutely. I was following it. I think it was Fox News on YouTube. I was following it while I was packing up to travel to Europe. And Valkyrie Medic said, I've only seen bits and pieces. I'll watch the whole thing later this week when I have a day off. I really liked what I've seen so far. Yeah, I liked it. That's the short version. I really liked it. Sheldon Hofstadter says, I watched it later, not online. Really liked it, just like our Californian friend in Carlsbad. Oh, interesting. That's great. Also watched Super Bowl online till 4:30 a.m. Happy Patriots won. Well, I'm happy that your favorite team won then. Tulik says, just watch the fun part of State of the Union, more work for women. Yeah, wasn't that hilarious? With all these women dressed in white, and they were supposed to look like the early suffragettes, I think. The people who were, well, the people who were fighting for voting rights for women, and they were trying to look like them. They didn't get the memo that the suffragettes were anti-abortion, did they? But then the fun part comes when Trump starts talking about employment for women and stuff like that. Or actually, when he started talking about the number of women in Congress, they just started clapping. And well, I think maybe they were getting instructions from Pelosi. I think they were watching her. Fernando Matsuo says, many Venezuelans are refugees in Brazil. In general, they're not causing problems. Most of them are only trying to start a decent life. Great people. I think that people from Venezuela who leave the country because they don't want socialism and who understand that socialism is what threw their country down the drain. If you understand that and you move to Brazil or Chile or the United States or wherever you move, if you understand that much, you're going to try to improve the country that takes you in. If you don't understand that and try pushing for socialism in the country you went to, well, I don't think that's good. Psalm 122:6 says, it was a powerful State of the Union address. It absolutely was. And Alicia Bell says, LOL, I just had to laugh at the Democrats wearing white because they were supposed to look like suffragettes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was funny. Emmy Imblody says, the white clothing, was it men in black and women in white for Democrats? I didn't really pay attention to the Democrat, well, to the males. If they were all in black, I missed that part. But the women in white, I saw that. Psalm 122:6 says, a local radio guy here said it looked like Pelosi was reading an IHOP menu. Oh, IHOP International House of Pancake. Yeah, that's funny. Absolutely. And Alicia Bell says, hoping Venezuela is not an infection that spreads to other South American countries. I agree because, when it comes to socialism, it's been tried so many times already. And as I used to say, let's say that the socialists are right. Let's say that the problem with socialism isn't socialism per se, but that no one has been able to implement it faithfully. Let's say they're right about that. Well, if no one is able to implement it faithfully, maybe it's just not possible for human beings to do so because you won't find a leader or a party that's uncorruptible enough to do it. I don't think they are right, by the way. I think that the problem is socialism in itself. But even if they're right, nobody's able to do it. So maybe they should go for something that actually works, like capitalism, which actually works. And of course, it's not perfect. There is no perfect system made by man. Of course not. But where would you rather be a low wage? Where would you rather be a low wage worker? Would you like to be a minimum wage worker in the United States, or would you like to be middle class in Venezuela? Let's put it that way. And I know what I would pick. I would not want to be anything in Venezuela. Period. Sheldon Hofstad says, I like the meme. I haven't seen so many Democrats in white since they started the KKK. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that is funny. Mickey H. 1961 says, what's wrong with Swedes? They continue to elect militant feminists into power for almost 50 years. Do you not learn this is a bad idea? I think some people in Sweden are realizing it's a bad idea, but Swedes have been brainwashed, I would like to say, for generations. When the Social Democrats were able to gain power over Sweden, when they got elected, they started taking control not only of parliament and of the government, but of all the branches of government and civil society and the media, the church, the schools. So I'd say the Swedish people, I don't want to defend my people too much here because I think everyone has a responsibility to look into the facts, to see what's going on and to analyze and not just do this groupthink and walk with the crowd and be conformist on all of that stuff. But I would say this, the Swedish people have been through a very efficient brainwash for generations. And with a conformist culture like the Swedish one, where you're not supposed to stand out from the crowd, well, I'm just saying Sweden was the perfect country to choose to try it. So yeah, I'm not sure if I answered your question, but yeah, there are many things wrong. And yeah, absolutely. I think you came in after I showed you, but yeah, you should read my book when it comes out. My book is coming out, I'm not exactly sure when. The first draft is finally done. I worked on it with help from, well, people who given me input to it. We've been working on it since 2017, and the first draft is now finally done of a Swede Speaks book, Understanding Sweden, a historical, cultural, and psychological inquiry of Sweden and the Swedes. And so here's the first draft. I'll hold it up a little longer so you get a chance to see it. And I now have three different people to proofread and comment on it for me from different perspectives. So hopefully I will be able to sell that book in a not too distant future through this channel and through other ways of selling books, Amazon or eBay or what have you, whatever. So it's coming up, and I'm taking a look from both an inside and an outside perspective of Sweden and the Swedes, and well, why Sweden has turned into what it is. Tulek says, how much will it cost? Well, that's not exactly decided yet, but we were thinking of about $10, but we haven't set an exact price yet. But well, we were thinking of $10. So we got 20 people watching. We got 18 likes. That's great. So if there's anyone in here who hasn't clicked the like button yet, just do it. Just click the like button. That's one of the things you can just do. Just do it is sometimes a bad advice, but in this case, just do it. That's great. And share this live stream with friends and family. Post it on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube. No, not on YouTube because well, post it on your social media. And tell people you know. So that's great. And Sheldon Hofstadter says, socialism is like a drug. It makes you feel good first and brings dependence addiction later. Yeah, that is a good analogy, as Valkyrie Medic says. This really is one. Because, you know, when Hugo Chavez, when he got elected in Venezuela, at first the standard of living rose. The thing is, Venezuela was the richest country in Latin America before he was elected. They had the highest standard of living in Latin America, and then he voted this socialist into power, and to begin with, he could just pretty much rob the rich and just take the oil revenue and just throw money at the people. Of course, he could do that to begin with, but then when they run out of money, you know what happens then? Then it's not that good anymore. And you know, they have a shortage of oil in Venezuela. Just let that sink in. You know, I think it was Milton Friedman, but whoever said it, socialism would create a shortage of sand in Sahara. Yeah, it would. And that's what happened to Venezuela. Tulek says 10 euros is a good price. I'll take one. Okay, Tulek, you know what? You can send an email. My email address is in the box under this live stream. You can send an email to me and just, well, tell me your interest. Tell me that you're interested in buying one, and I'll tell you when we're done with the book. You can do that. Solma 122.6 says, are you and other like-minded Europeans going to get together for videos about what's going on in Europe? That's a good idea, and well, I might be able to make a few videos together with some people in Europe while I'm here. We'll see. So I might be able to interview some people in different parts of Europe to see what's going on in their countries or in the continent as a whole, or in Western Europe versus Visegrad countries and so on. That's possible. We'll see. Mickey H 1961 says, I agree with the brainwashing and propaganda, but surely someone must have woken up and see through it as cancer and of the mind socialism that is. Some people do. And you know what happened to these people? they get bullied. And people can lose their jobs in Sweden for being against socialism or being against Islam. So, yeah, I'm saying you really have to have a strong backbone in Sweden to stand up. And I still think people should. And the more people who do that, the easier it gets for other. Because, they talk about the silent majority, and that's all fine and great and dandy. But when this majority is silent because they don't want to get bullied by the aggressive left, for instance, what happens then is that they just raise the price for speaking out, and some people will just pay a very high price for speaking up. So yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty much in agreement. I'm just saying this is what's going on in Sweden and why it's going on. I don't like that it's going on that way, and I think people should stand up more in this context. But that's what's going on. And Alicia Bell says, hey, pre-ordering sounds good. It really does. It really does. And Sheldon Hofstadter says, I saw a Nike logo with a sign, just stand, probably related to Kaepernick. Yeah, in that case, I wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. In that case, I don't agree. Right. Yeah, actually, I'm not sure, depending on what they mean. Valkyria Medic says, so many European YouTubers seem to understand that communism and globalism is poison, but they don't seem to see the value of Christianity when trying to build a successful society. Well, Europe has been de-Christian, or not the entirety of Europe, but a large part of Europe has been de-Christianized or de-christened for generations, pretty much from World War I. After World War I, a lot of the Christianity just died out in Europe. It was fought by the left, and I mean, it was viciously fought by the left. So, yeah, so you have people now who see that socialism, communism, globalism are bad ideas, but they don't know what to build a successful society on. They don't see that a society needs foundations, that a house without, what do you say, a house without foundation will not stand. Luke Warner says, the European Union is in its of the final days, and I cannot wait to see the European Union collapse. It's already started to collapse within itself. I agree. I can't wait to see that. I would like a peaceful dissolution of the European Union. But if it's not going to happen, I tell you, the British, please just go for a hard Brexit. A hard Brexit is going to pave the way for other countries. It's going to get other people in Europe talking about we should do what the British did. If Britain caves in and pays ransom to the EU, or if Britain accepts a bad deal from the EU, that wouldn't be good. Not good at all. Because that would set a bad example. But if Britain stands up and if Britain leaves the table and says, we're not giving you a pound, we're not giving you one single penny, we've paid enough, and they just leave. And Britain can have a free trade agreement with the United States. Britain can have a free trade agreement with Canada, with Australia, with Israel, with Brazil. Probably they can have one with Switzerland, with Norway. And they can offer these agreements to different European countries, to EU countries, Poland, Sweden, what have you. I think that would be a much better option. And Alicia Bell says, hard Brexit all the way. I agree. Let's see, Luke Warden said, well, I would say that the only thing that communism and socialism does to the people is make them much worse than they originally were. Exactly. Good point. Mickey H. 1961 says, sadly, my country is going down the same dark hole. Freedom of speech being closed down. Islam is a no-go area to criticize. Religion, Christianity, demonized. Media tells nothing but lies. If you want to, you can tell us which country it is. I mean, that description could fit pretty much any country in Western Europe, plus Canada, as far as I know. Let's see. Psalm 122:6s says, have you interviewed the brave German woman Heidi Mundt? She is the Christian woman who spoke out against the imam doing the Islamic call to pray in a church in Germany. I haven't heard of that. I mean, I know things like that go on in churches all over Western Europe, but I haven't heard of that, so I definitely should look into her and see see what she's about and see what's happened. Absolutely. And Luke Warner says the next European Union election, if you can call it an election at all, is going to be dominated by nationalists of every single European country. You know what? Sorry, I think you're absolutely right about that. That's going to be interesting. Mickey H 1961 says Ireland. Oh, I see. Yeah, I know. Ireland. I've heard that Ireland used to have some really sane policies, at least in some areas. But after Ireland had their referendum over abortion, I've been told by an Irish Facebook friend actually, that if you're openly pro-life in Ireland, if you are stand up for the right of the born and the unborn, then you're in trouble in Ireland and you get bullied. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I've been told. So that's sad. That's really sad. So another thing, the next thing I'd like to ask you is, and this is referring to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her ideas. The question here is, do you think that inflation spending is a good idea? Why or why not? So what I want to know is, do you think that inflation spending is a good idea? And why do you think it's a good idea? Or why don't you think it's a good idea? That's what I like to know. Emma Imblardi says Israel is first country to finalize post-Brexit deal with Britain. Oh, that's interesting, really. That's really interesting. And Psalm 122:6 says there's a video of it on YouTube. It's awesome. She loudly declared from the church balcony that Jesus Christ is Lord over Germany. Oh, that's great. I really have to watch that one. And Luke Warner said Labour is nothing more than the party for illegal immigrants, the part that backs Marxism that was systematically destroyed the UK and its economy. I suppose you're right about that. I know that the Labour Party in the United Kingdom, they sort of went to the left when they elected Corbyn. But even before Corbyn, they had Miliband. Actually they elected the Miliband, who was supposed to be kind of a moderate, I think. But then they elected Corbyn, who's just a crazy leftist, I think. Valkyrian Medic says, no, it's never a good idea to devalue your own currency. Well, good point. I agree. Mickey H 1961 says, regards abortion, yes, the media press all out in favor of abortion. All political parties, celebs, etc. I feel the vote was rigged. Most people vote not understanding what this was going to be. No, that could very well be true. I don't know how the referendum was set up in Ireland more than I know that, the so-called pro-choice people, the pro-death people, they won according to this referendum. That's what I know. But I don't know if the referendum was done fair and square or how that happened. Luke Warner says, the move of the so-called party of the working class is no longer. There are many Labour members are so far from reality. Well, I think what's happened to the Labour Party and similar parties all over the West, the Social Democrats of Scandinavia, the Democrats in the United States, and so on. And whatever, I mean, and so all these kinds of parties, they when they started to lose the vote of the working class, because the working class isn't that fond of paying high taxes, and especially not when these taxes go to fund crazy leftist culture and things like that. The working class wants to keep their money. I mean, underneath most working class people, you will find conservatives. So instead, they went on the identity politics track. It happened in Britain, it happened in Sweden, it happened in Canada and the United States, and so on. So yeah, that's what happened to these parties. And Luke Warner, I absolutely agree. Abortion, I mean, I think abortion is murder. And when they talk about post-birth abortions like in Virginia, well, how obvious do they need to be? I mean, at some point, people just need to, well, wake up and smell the coffee and say, that coffee stinks and we shouldn't have that coffee. Mickey H. 1961 says, pro-death got vast amount of airtime. Pro-life portrayed as backward anti-woman. It was so one-sided that North Korea could learn a lesson or two from. Yeah, that's horrible, but yeah. And Alicia Bell says, so sad the Irish don't know what kind of a curse they are bringing to their island. Yeah, I agree. Emmy and Blorder says, the bill was defeated in Virginia, thank God. Yeah, absolutely, thank God for that. And Luke Warner says, also, pro-life means that you back human rights for the unborn child, where the other people who don't want to recognize the unborn child are systematically living in the past. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I'll quote Ronald Reagan on this one. I've done it before, I'll do it again. Ronald Reagan said, I have noticed that all the people I met who are in favor of abortion have all been born. And I'm like, that says it all. Because, you know, I was told in Sweden in the 90s that as a male, I shouldn't have an opinion on abortion because I couldn't get pregnant, so I shouldn't have an opinion. But in that case, I'll just point to Ronald Reagan and say, what he said, I agree. And by the way, I've also noticed that when women are anti-abortion, they get called traitors of their sex and stuff like that. So it's not about if you're male or female. It's about having the, so to speak, right opinion. And when you don't, then they'll just try to smear you any way they can. Mark Kidwell says, UK have no choice, no chance on the main parties. You might be right. I hope UKIP is going to do well. I'm not sure exactly where they stand by now, but I hope they are going to adopt sane policies and do well in the elections. And Alicia Bell says, no matter what baby, if the baby is coming out the birth canal, if you kill an innocent person in utero or after birth, we are following Molech. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. So we've got 18 minutes left here. So this is as good time as any to click the like button, to send a super chat, and to share this video with friends and family. And you know, if you're not a subscriber already, go ahead and click subscribe. And all of that is just greatly appreciated because, you know, without you, there would be no me. I wouldn't be able to do this without you. I'm really happy that you show up here on Saturdays, Saturday afternoon if you live in America, Saturday evening tonight if you live in Europe, or I guess Sunday morning if you have to be in Australia, wherever you are. I'm happy that you show up at this time. And I'm happy both for the people who show up regularly in every live stream or every now and then. I'm happy for the new people coming in. And, well, you know, I just hope that the new people who show up, that you'll turn into regulars too. I'm really happy about everyone who comes here and who hangs out here to discuss this, everything, all that. I'm just very happy about that because, as I said, I couldn't do this without you. So I'm really happy that you're here. And another thing I'd like to ask you is, which pope do you prefer, Francis or John Paul II? So it's really a straightforward question. What I'd like to know is, of the following two popes, which one do you prefer, Francis or John Paul II? M. Largest, let's see, I'll read this first. Valkyria Medic says, I've got to go. Good chat and a very good night weekend to all. See you next week. Absolutely. Thank you for coming and see you next time, Valkyria Medic. So yeah, thank you. That's great. We'll see you next time. And M.M. Rogers says, a baby is a human without a voice, like many people. For example, some autistic. and it is up to the rest of us to speak for them. I agree. And Mikey H. 1961 says, the life of a child should always supersede the feelings of a woman. Once life is taken, it can never be brought back. Counseling of a woman can be done anytime, but the child only gets one chance. I agree, and I would like to add something to this, and it's that I've understood that many abortions happen not just because of the mother, but they also happen because the father of the child don't want to take up the responsibility for the child that he helped to create. And so you have boyfriends and what kind of relationship the parents have, but you have these men who don't want to take responsibility and who pressure women into abortions. So that happens too. So the life of the unborn child should supersede the feelings of any adult person, pretty much. And let's see, Sheldon Hofter says John Paul, no doubt. Slavik Figura says John Paul II, Thomas Boyd, Alicia Bell, Tulik, M.M. Ladris. Yeah, they say John Paul II. All of you say that. I see there's great agreement here. And Sheldon says, and Benedict as well. Yeah, actually, yeah. I don't know what happened to Benedict, why he had to go. What was going? If there was something going on behind the scenes there. But I think Benedict, he was not a fan of Islam, from what I can remember. And Luke Warner says John II, John Paul II. Even though I'm not Catholic, well, yeah, I'm not a Catholic either. But choosing between Francis and John Paul II, I'll go with John Paul II. At least John Paul II, he stood up for his beliefs and he helped bring down communism in Poland and in the Visegrad countries. Alicia Bell says, abortion is the easy way out in the minds of selfish men. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Let's see. Psalm 122:6 says, if I had to choose one pope, it would be John Paul. Just heard on the Hagman report that Francis told Chinese Christians they should support their communist government. Oh, that's crazy, but well, that's what I expect from him. But it really is crazy. But yeah, I don't understand. Well, I kind of understand how he became pope, because he needed a liberal after a conservative. I guess that's what was going on. But yeah, you have a guy who doesn't stand up to communism and who doesn't stand up to Islam, and you have Christians being persecuted in Islamic countries. You have Christians being persecuted in communist countries. And he's like, oh, we can have peace with Islam, that's fine. And if you're in China, you should support your government. And I'm like, what? Really? And Mickey A says, John Paul II, there's no comparison. This present guy Francis is not to be trusted. He never once spoke on the Irish abortion referendum to advise his followers of the evil involved in committing abortion. Yeah, that's crazy. If there's one thing he should have spoken up, it should have been this. And Alicia Bell, our moderator, says, last 13 minutes, make sure you send your super chat and hit the thumbs up. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great advice. So just go ahead and follow our moderator's advice. That's all I have to say about that. I second that opinion. And yeah, Mark Kidwell says we are losing family values. Yeah, we are. And that's part of my point, that these values comes from somewhere. They just don't pop out of the sky or out of thin air. These values were promoted in the West by Christianity. So losing Christianity, we will see all these things going on. Oh, and Luke Warner just sent a super chat of £10. Thank you very much, sir. And he says, there needs to be a revolution in China to overthrow the communist government and to bring back the liberal government and democracy back to China. But for now, I will recognize Taiwan as China. Yeah, I agree. I think Taiwan is the legitimate China. I absolutely. And yeah, if you mean liberal in the classical liberal sense of the word, or liberal democracy, I'm with you on that one. So thank you, sir, for your very generous donation, and thank you for your thoughts. I agree. That's great. I really hope that Well, China is one of the regimes I hope it will come down. Just like the North Korean regime, I hope it's going to come down. I hope that, well, if it can be done peacefully, if Kim Jong-un resigns, and if they can have freedom and democracy in that order in North Korea, if they're going to join South Korea again, or if they're going to be an independent country with freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, and free market, and an election, and a government by the people, for the people, that would be great. And if that would happen in China too, even better. Sheldon Hofstadter says, I saw an interview with a gay Catholic deacon who said one of 3 Catholic priests is gay, and in Vatican is 1 out of 2. I don't doubt that, because I think I mean, I don't want to go into like a Protestant Catholic debate, but I don't think that the celibacy is necessarily a good thing. I think it might attract the wrong people to the priesthood. I would say that much. I think it will attract people who are not into women anyway. M.A.M. Lardy says John Paul II apparently was aware of the Malachi prophecy concerning the Citroën Pope. I'm not sure what the Citroën Pope is actually. And she says, and he believed it. This Pope is the final one. Well, we'll see. I don't know. It's difficult for me to say, but I'll say that, yeah, it is getting crazy. I'll tell you that one. And she says also, he's bringing all the religions under one world umbrella. Yeah, I see the end time signs there. Absolutely. And Tulik says John Paul was the classic Pope. He believed the job is until death. Yeah. And Alicia Bell also says, I believe that, Sheldon. I've known some who worked at the Vatican and they were not celibate or straight. Yeah, I think it makes sense. I mean, it follows its own internal logic. I mean, if you have a profession open only to unmarried men, and if marriage is between 1 man and 1 woman, so men who don't want to marry women anyway will be more interested in that profession, right? That's pure logic. So another thing I'd like to know is how long have you subscribed to this channel, and how did you find this channel? So what I wonder is, how long have you been a subscriber of this channel, and how did you find this channel? I mean, Brody says meant current Pope. Oh yeah, I think we all understood. Yeah, absolutely. And Tulik says Benedict abdicated to prove that a Pope can quit when he can't work effectively any longer. Okay, yeah, I don't know what happened with Benedict, what was going on behind the scenes, but I would take Benedict over Francis any day of the week. Leah H says, about 1 month, by trying to see how Swedes celebrate Christmas. Your video came up in the suggestions. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm happy to hear that. And Sheldon Hofstad says, via Peter Sweden, but have no idea how long it is, I'm afraid. Yeah, I've understood that sometimes my videos turn into suggested videos after Peter Sweden. And that's great. I think maybe sometimes his videos are suggested videos after my videos too. If we can, well, if people who are interested in me and interested in him, if sort of we can share a little audience there, that's great. And Psalm 122:6 says, I believe I found your channel after I found Sanity for Sweden's channel, and your channel popped up. Yeah, that's great. That's good to know. And we share a lot of audience with each other too. And Emma in Largest says, about 6 months, and I heard you on San. Oh, you listened to the interview we did with each other. Oh, that's great. And our moderator Alicia Bell says, smash the like button and share your favorite video on social media. Yeah, absolutely do that. Absolutely. And Mark Kidwell says, last year. Yeah, well, I'm happy that you're here now. Luke Warner says, Catholics can believe in our own thing. I believe in the Protestant way, but the Catholics did try to kill the Protestants by burning them. Yeah, in England, it was really, really bad. I've read up some about the history of, of England in general and of the Catholics and the Anglicans in England. It was bad. It was really bad in England. Alicia Bell says, last 5 minutes, make your final statements. Yeah, go ahead and do that. And Luke Warren says, I got to go now, but it's been really nice talking to you. See you again. Yeah, absolutely, Luke. Hope to see you again next week. And thank you for joining in, this evening. So just enjoy the rest of your evening. And Mickey H. 1961 says, about 2 months ago, looking at the videos of the death of Swedish society, culture due to the agenda imposed by Swedish feminists, refreshing to hear you and your honest opinions. Great to see. Well, thank you for your kind words, sir. I'm happy to hear that. And we're down to our last 4 minutes here. So I wonder, do you think that the EU's link tax is a good idea? And why do you think so? Or why don't you think so? So what I'd like to ask you for the last 4 minutes is, do you think that the EU's link tax is a good idea? And why or why not? Why don't you think so? Or why do you think so? And MEM Largest says, God bless you and yours. Well, God bless you too. Absolutely. Lee H says, linked tag. The link tags, if you have a YouTube channel, for instance, and you add links to your references, that's why I stopped doing this, because I know this was coming up. If I add links to my sources, according to EU rules, the rules that are getting voted in pretty much as you speak, you will have to pay a heavy tax, which no ordinary YouTuber like yours truly could ever afford, and all these internet platforms, YouTube, Twitter, what have you, Instagram, all of these, they will have to install filters according to these EU rules. So that's what it's all about, pretty much. Or get hit by really heavy fines or heavy taxes. So this is pretty much the EU trying to protect the old mainstream media, the media that's pretty much eating out of their hands. I guess in one way you could compare EU to kind of an empire, with the mainstream media being sort of the court. I'm not sure what to call them exactly, but they have sort of a court media system. Because in most European countries, I think, a lot of them at least, actually taxpayer money go to help fund the mainstream media. And so you get a class of dependents in the mainstream media who depend on not creating a good product that customers want to pay for or that advertisers want to pay for, but instead getting money from taxpayers through the politicians. Let's see. I'll try to keep up a little with the comments here. Lee H says, EU is ridiculous. Another reason to leave the EU. Absolutely. And Art Schneider says, did you see the story about the Swedish journalist arrested and found with a bomb? Heard about it on Peter Sweden. I might have missed that story due to having been ill and traveling, but I'll check out his channel and see what it's about. And Mickey H 1961 says, the EU link, Never heard of it, but almost everything from the EU is malignant. Sooner it's abolished, the better. EU closing down freedom, period. Tyrannus as is best. No, I don't like it. Yeah, absolutely. So I hope for an Irish exit from the EU too. And Mickey H also says, going now. Enjoy the chat. Best wishes. Well, best wishes to you too, sir. And thanks for hanging out with us all this evening. Yeah, and we're as moderator Alicia Bell says, we're down to our last minute. So yeah, so we're pretty much down to the end now. Thank you all for coming this evening or this afternoon, depending on where you happen to be in the world. Thank you for your support, for the conversation, for everything. Really, thank you for likes and shares and hanging out. And please tell your friends and family about this live stream and this channel. And if you haven't already hit the like button, do it now. And if you are not subscribed, subscribe now. That's all great. So until next time, have a nice day, or evening, or morning, and God bless.